Welcome back to another episode of Real Chumps, where chatting about movies feels like hanging out with friends. I'm your host, Marcel, and with me, as always, is my co-host, Danny.
This week, we are going to be finishing our month-long series of romance movies with the 2007 film P.S. I Love You, directed by Richard Lagravenzi, written by Stephen Rogers, Richard Lagravenzi, based on the novel by Cecilia Ahern, starring Hilary Swank, Gerard Butler, Kathy Bates, Lisa Kudrow, Gina Gershon, Harry Connick Jr., and many more.
Before we jump into our movie today, again, we wanted to remind you to please subscribe wherever you get your podcast. Turn on those notifications so you never miss an episode, and feel free to send any questions, comments, thoughts that you have. We want to hear from you.
Now, I do want to we want to apologize that last week just got crazy with me getting sick. Also, Hammer had some stuff for work. Marcel was busy. We couldn't sync up. But we are going to be having another episode coming out this week that starts our heist movie series. So be sure to stay tuned for that. And also, shout out to all the new listeners and followers on YouTube. We truly appreciate you, and we're so excited to have you. So be sure to, if you're not following us, to follow us on social at Real Chumps. And with that being said, let's roll the intro.
All right, Danny. Question of the day. I've got one.
Ooh, yes.
Or do you have one?
No.
No? Are you sure?
I did have one, but I think I want to hear yours because I'm usually the one that gives out the questions of the day.
It's another timed one for you. Okay.
Okay, let's go.
Let me pull up the timer.
Last time we did this, it failed atrociously.
I thought it went great.
For you.
Let's do 40 seconds.
I think that's what you did last time too. Or 36 seconds, I don't remember.
Okay, so I am going to read out to you
okay,
some of Hilary Swank's co-stars, and you have 40 seconds to name as many of the movies based on the co-stars that I read out to you.
Oh, freak. Okay.
Ready? And we're going to start easy.
Oh, dude, I'm so bad at this.
I have 10 of these.
Okay. Okay, let's go.
So let's see how many you can do. Okay, so we'll count down in 3, 2, 1. All right, first one is Pat Morita.
Karate Kid?
The next Karate Kid, I'll give it to you. Okay. Gerard Butler.
P.S. I Love You.
Okay. Clint Eastwood and Morgan Freeman.
Skip.
Okay. Al Pacino and Robin Williams.
Al Pacino and Robin Williams with Hilary Swank. I feel like I really do know this one.
Director is Christopher Nolan.
Memento.
No.
No, dang it.
Next one. Peter Sarsgaard and Chloe Sevigny.
Nope, skip.
Okay. Tommy Lee Jones, and that's time.
Oh, it's time.
So you got 2.
Okay, give it to me. What are the movies?
So yeah, you got Pat Morita for The Next Karate Kid, Gerard Butler for P.S. I Love You, Clint Eastwood and Morgan Freeman for $1 Million Baby.
$1 Million Baby, dude.
Yep.
That's a freaking fantastic movie.
Yeah. Al Pacino and Robin Williams, directed by Christopher Nolan, was Insomnia. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but it's like one of those like super underrated Christopher Nolan movies.
It is. I did remember starting it. I haven't ever finished it.
Yeah.
But I remember starting because it was like the movie that people talk about a lot when it comes to trying to get to do like a more indie, like pulling something together. For Insomnia is not the one I'm thinking of. I'm thinking of Soderbergh's. Soderbergh had another one that like same, because Insomnia
is Al Pacino's a detective.
Yeah.
Murder somewhere in like Alaska.
Yeah.
And like the sun never goes down, or it only goes down for like 2 hours. Or something like that.
I remember reading the article talking about like the actual production of this, of course. But the one I was thinking of was the one with Soderbergh, who filmed on an iPhone in a hospital. Anyways, sorry.
Okay. And then I said Peter Sarsgaard with Chloe Sevigny was Boys Don't Cry.
Okay, I don't think I've ever heard that movie.
Oh, that was the one that like gave her first like
big
Oscar nomination.
Dang.
And then I think that's as far as I got.
Nice. Well, now...
hopefully you did better, listener. Let me know.
You will do better than me every single time. I'm a terrible test taker. Because I never remember, like... I remember the movies and I enjoy them. I just am terrible. With
Maybe
freaking
next
faces.
time I'll give you like a synopsis. That's what we'll do.
No, I mean I think what we need to
And
do
you
is
have to name the movie.
I think now going forward, I'm just gonna like usually like, hey, this is the question of the day. Prep yourself,
For it.
and we'll see what happens. You know. Okay, let me give you the synopsis for P.S. I Love You. Okay, it's based off a book, and obviously I don't think you've never seen this movie before.
I'd never seen this movie before.
You've heard of it though.
I have heard of it, and I think the only person I'd heard from it was my wife, who was just like, "Yeah, it's super sad, depressing," and the way that she gave me the movie was the husband dies, and he leaves behind notes that guide her, and this is crucial because she said that guide her to find her next boyfriend or her next love interest, and I was like, okay. So that's the mentality I had going into this movie, okay? And then we're gonna talk about this in a bit because this is this is all I knew about this movie. And so, but yeah, so I'd never seen this. I knew of it. I had heard of it. Never seen it.
Well, I was gonna do some, but we'll go with that synopsis. No, it's debatable if that's really what the.
Yeah, not quite yet there yet, but yeah.
I would probably say, okay, so my synopsis, I'll give it. My synopsis was a couple who was experiencing marital struggles ends up having her husband pass away due to brain cancer and is sent on an adventure by her late husband, leaving notes to her to find peace within herself.
Yes. Much better. Much better.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's just hop into this one.
How many times have you seen this?
I think this is my 4th time.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I've seen this quite a bit. And it's funny.
May I ask why? I saw this, okay? And I finished this. I was like, done. I am never revisiting this movie ever again.
But why? Why would you never want to revisit this movie again?
A couple of reasons. I think I just...
It's Irish accent, isn't it?
Nah. If anything, I want more Gerard Butler in his Irish accent. Like, I love his Irish accent. It's so thick.
Irish people would disagree. Apparently, there was a big.
Yeah,
there was
actually. Yeah.
There was some big hate on it. I actually thought it wasn't too bad, but obviously, I'm not. Well, okay,
No,
I will say.
Let's talk about bad Irish accent. Jeffrey Dean Morgan, who I had no idea was in this movie.
Yes.
Is he Irish? He's not Irish, right?
No.
And then he comes in with his. I'm like, what is he doing here? What is Thomas Wayne doing in this movie with a British accent? Like, this is not good. Or the comedian.
There's quite a bit of like cameo or like movie like characters that show up and you're like, what?
And then I'm like, oh yeah, 2007. So
2007. Yes. Okay. Well, what do you want to start with this?
Well, actually, let's go back to this.
No, yeah.
You've seen this 4 times.
Sorry, yeah. Yeah, why? So why have I seen this 4 times?
Yes.
Okay, well, one, I actually, like I said, I think I've said this in the past, right? When we watched I like Gerard Butler. I don't remember what the first movie I saw with him is, actually. So I don't know where, like, my enjoyment of Gerard Butler was.
My Gerard Butler virginity was taken with 300.
Oh, I think that is what it was. So, Gerard Butler, 300, Zack Snyder, great foot kick, into the pit. No, but overall, no. And then I watched him in Gamer, and then Ugly Truth. I don't know if it wasn't exactly that order, but in any case, and then P.S. I Love You, comes out, and I think I was dating a girl, and we decided either we watched it or I ended up watching. I don't remember if I watched. I don't remember if I watched it myself or with my girlfriend at the time.
Let's hope you watched it with someone and not by yourself.
I sometimes watch movies that are sad by myself.
Like, really? This?
Why not?
I'm gonna be judging you hardcore throughout this episode.
And that's why we have this podcast. Look, here's the thing: is like it's funny because like this time around, like it didn't hit me as hard as it has in the past.
Okay.
But I think it's because I was thinking I was looking at it like, okay, what about this movie? What is it about this movie, right? That I like or don't like? Whereas the other times I was just like, I was enjoying it just to like watch it, right? It was good. It was like I think it was like a movie at a time when I think I was going through some grief.
Sure.
I don't remember exactly the time frame, but I'm pretty positive that I was probably dealing with some like depressive, like sort of stuff.
Sure.
Right, just life stuff that makes you think about like why is life so hard, right? And so watching the movie, like enjoyed it, and then I think after that I was like, oh, this is great. It's also one to watch with a girl who you want to call and be like, oh, this is like you're carrying or whatever. So you got good cuddles out of it. So let's go.
Okay. My wife hates this movie.
I don't.
She didn't watch it with me.
I'm
this
sure.
movie. But I think I both love and hate this movie. And so I have like, we were supposed to record this, right, like a week ago or so. And I'm glad we didn't because I've had more time to like chew on it.
Yeah.
And the more that I've had more time to think on it, I'm like, yes, I love and hate it, but at the same, I think I dislike it a little bit more than I love it.
Yeah. What soured it?
A couple of things. One, it was hard for me to like. I had the same experience when we watched Grease. In like the movie comes to an end, and it's like, oh, it's graduation day. Like this felt like this all took place over like a week or two, right? I struggled like to know like, and even though like it would show like spring, autumn, winter, or whatever, right? Like I struggled following the time span of this, and I think it also like made me not really understand like, okay, like not that I want her to like get over Jerry, but at the same time it's like, okay, how long has this grief been happening? And even by the end I'm just like, I'm not even sure like what the timeline was in this movie.
Yeah.
Did this take place over a few months, a year, 2 years, 3 years? I'm not sure. and so like I think, and maybe I'm the only person who has this issue, but like
let us know. Do you feel the same way?
Do you?
No, I don't.
No, you could keep track of like the timeline.
So because of the way I watch movies, I don't think I just let it be, right? Watching it this round though, I will say that there is it is a little difficult to understand. Looking at the year perspective, I can see you're 100% where you're coming from, right? They go through the seasons. It's a year time frame from once the death happens.
Okay.
So it's a year time frame from once the death happens. She goes through all 4 seasons and she's struggled.
That's right, because she does say like yesterday or like last week was the 1 year anniversary.
Right, because she's with Daniel, right?
Yeah.
She's with Daniel and she's like, it's been a year and I don't feel him anymore.
Yeah.
So it's been a year for that. But there's also a weird time span where like the opening of the movie has this like fight about life. They're 9 years into their marriage, which I think was actually a pretty decent like moment to come into their life, to feel this moment, right? I felt like that the fight at the beginning had some really weak moments that just felt like empty. They didn't feel real.
Yeah.
But it was okay enough. My biggest issue is like from that point to the death, that was weak. I don't know what the time span in that, like what, and does it matter? I don't know.
I don't think
I don't, like probably not. Yeah. Right. And so that's probably, they might've had something in there, but they're like, we just cut it.
You're right.
Further emphasize the fact that like, I can see why it's difficult, especially in the first watch or, if you're like being critical, if you're, I think if you're watching for the first time and you've never watched it and you're not in a movie podcast, you probably won't notice the fact that it's over a year or that it might be a little bit muddy because you're experiencing it for the first time. And it's dealing with some pretty deep emotions and themes in life. So I think that people get caught up in that aspect of it, especially if you're coming from somebody who's read the book, right? I've never read the book, but in a lot of cases, I think they might already have other backgrounds or whatever.
Sure.
And then the final thing is that because it is talking about depression and loss and kind of getting over that stuff, I think for Hilary Swank's character, Holly, she's depressed. She's not going to be leaving her house.
Right.
She's not, and then when she does leave, it's to Ireland, to a place where that Jerry's taking her on to try to, help her move forward. Right. And so it can feel like the passage of time isn't happening. because it's the scene and you're not the sets are basically the same. You're inside of her mom's pub or bar, and then her house, and then Ireland.
Yeah, and the few times we're in New York, like it always felt like it was winter in New York.
And not only is it New York, but 2007 New York or 2006, whatever the film was, which is a very different. I feel like a very different New York, in the sense that like it just everything looks the same. I don't, and maybe that's like what they could do. I don't know. Anyways, so you're not wrong.
Yeah. So I think for me that's like the one issue. The second issue, and I think this is where I'm glad that we took time to like for me to chew on it a bit. I don't know that I like that opening scene. I almost kind of wish we started with he's dead. And we go back to the scene. And for a couple of reasons. And maybe this is just me. I think that the scene, there were some beats that just didn't hit for me. Or I was just like, okay, I understand the argument. And look, I've been married for almost 10 years.
Me too.
And I'm sure listeners, whether you're married or have had a partner, you have arguments where sometimes you look back and you're like, did we really just spend days arguing over this, right?
Yes.
I love my wife. No, but I think like I'm seeing the argument. I'm just like, okay. But it also, for me, it made me almost dislike Holly a bit. And then I wish we would have just gone into this grieving widow and then had flashbacks to their time together, to this fight. Especially when we see the scene where like he takes her out to karaoke and then she ends up like in the hospital.
Yeah.
Like I just felt there was a lot of times where I was just like, Holly, and I think the movie does this in a way to say like you took him for granted, you didn't you didn't express the love that you should have or the support that you should have, whatever it is. But like the argument is that this man has like decided to open up a limo business to help you.
Yeah.
Right? Yes, you guys feel like you're not ready to have kids. That's fine, but like he's doing his part. What are you doing, Holly? You're complaining about your job. You're complaining that your manager sucks. And I feel like it put me on a position as a viewer to be like, yeah, what are you doing? like, yeah, you guys aren't ready to have kids. You both, you feel like you're not ready to have kids. He wants to have kids. So he's supporting you by saying like, okay, I'm starting a business. I'm going to generate some more money, so that we can feel we're ready. And you are just complaining about your job, that your job sucks, that your manager isn't
not
great
about the nail.
Yeah. And then he dies. There's a time skip, right? And I'm just like, I don't know. For me, and I think for a lot of people, it might have hit like, oh no, he's dead. Like, look, we see them in a fight, they make up, but now he's gone. For me, I would have just kind of started with,
you know what, dude, that's a wonderful rewrite. As if I think that the for our Real Chums rewrite, I think that's a phenomenal one because actually this time watching it, I was I literally actually sped up this talk or this scene because I was like, I can't anymore. These guys are literally there's no. It's like I'm like part of it is I think it's just I just don't think that the writers. I think they were trying to figure out how to come into this movie and help us like set up some sort of basis. I mean, in this, we find out that Holly's mom isn't fond of Jerry, that they got married young, that they haven't had kids because they've been trying to figure out how to what to do, whether they want to stay, like the cost to live in New York, all the things, some of the things you mentioned. And like at the end of the day, like it to a degree, it is somewhat relatable. Like sometimes you get to that point in your marriage and you're like, what are we doing? What are we gonna do? Right? But I think even starting out the movie with the grief and then going, like you said, to that freaking karaoke scene. Dude, that scene is so funny. I forgot about it and I cracked up so hard this time.
I love that karaoke scene.
It was so good. And even because like to me, like even having her like, or even opening up with the karaoke scene. opening up
Yeah.
with the karaoke scene, having this moment, and then going into the fight.
Into that fight that they have at the hospital, right?
Right. To like this other time period. Or, you know, because like we've said this before, we love being dropped in.
Yeah.
But this didn't feel like a good drop. Like this just felt like we were like a weird fly on a wall on.
They drop us in, but it's a weird setup for the rest of the movie for me.
Yes. I don't disagree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think started off with the fight, or sorry, started off with like the grief, and then show us the karaoke, show us how they're dynamic, and then show us like happy dynamics, and then show us back to that fight dynamic, right? Where I guess the trouser button falls off and inspires her to like become a shoe designer. Anyway, I think that's what kind of set me up, and then I just couldn't quite. I felt for Holly, but I couldn't quite get on her side throughout the movie.
Some of the beats that I felt like were really weak were some of those depressing scenes.
Yes,
like I didn't actually have a problem with when, you know, Jerry comes in and she's feeling his presence. Like that wasn't part of it. I think it was the fact that they reiterated the fact that she was depressed and she missed Jerry. If they added just a little extra of her, like of her mom,
yes,
like her mom and her sister, like having the like discussion, her friends, you know, like even Daniel, like on the perspective of like cutting. Now, obviously, this is her story, but I feel strongly that like if they'd cut just a little bit to some of those in between moments, we just could get juxtaposition. Right, we could have a reset to then maybe feel for us, because I feel like it feels very much one noted for like that like right after the, you know, death into the end of the first act into the beginning of this the second act feels really monotone, just really like stagnant, and it just doesn't feel like it's driving as effectively as it possibly could.
I love that you bring up the interaction with the mom. I think of those were my favorite scenes of the whole movie, right? Especially the last interaction where she gives her the final letter, right? And those were the times where I was definitely like, freaking mom, like let her grieve, you know? Like I get you don't like the guy, you're being that mother-in-law, but like let her grieve. And I think those were my favorite moments.
Yeah, was
and again, having obviously Kathy Bates in that.
I know, dude. I was
role
gonna say,
is just
money to me. Like especially as I watched it this round, like I was like, man, Kathy. Especially because I know Kathy Bates a little bit more. Again, I can't tell you what movies because I freaking terrible at that. But I know every single time I have her on screen, like she has a wonderful laugh. When her ability to portray that motherly care is top notch.
Yeah.
I just don't think they didn't use her enough. Like they could have like cut the fight scene in half, but started at the dinner scene in the fact that he says the thing.
Yeah.
Right? Because the whole opening, like, because then her walking away would have felt better because we're on her side, or at least we feel we can fall.
We can empathize with her more.
Yes, because at this point it's like this. It is a weird, especially. I mean, like I hate to say it, but we're dudes, and so like we're on his end.
Sure. Yeah.
Because we're like, okay, what? There's something obviously wrong into the opening scene, you know, and we go into that. So I don't know. I think it's not only that, but like the sister also. What's her name? Nellie McKay, who's Sierra. Yeah. She's like a breath of fresh air, and she felt like she like they have these couple one-liners that felt like she could have been a little bit more, and like again, could have had her mom pushing on the more like move forward. You know, like the moment where she comes out and Kathy Bates is like, "Look, your dad left me, and I had 2 kids. I had to move forward."
Yeah.
Right. And it like, again, that would have been a better jab if we had opened up with the fact that like her mom's asking about children and like the aspect, right? We said we do a little bit of a setup. We already have a little bit of the conflict. Then they have a little bit of a resolution, but then he dies. And the fact that they had the resolution means that they're never going to have kids.
Yes.
So like to me, I'm like, I don't know. This time watching it for sure because we're doing this podcast.
Yeah.
Look, every single time, even this time, there's some really wonderful, enjoyable moments in here.
Yes. Yeah, there is.
And I think that like for a lot of moments that like it is one that can help be therapeutic to be able to like feel feelings and get through some of those stuff. But realizing especially that having looking at that critical eye of that opening scene, really just kind of like it's a disservice for the rest of the movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it sucks.
It sucks. I want to ask you a little bit about Daniel. So when you watch, and maybe, I don't know if you remember, the first time watching this, were you ever like, oh, this is who she's going to end up with at the end of the movie?
When I first watched it?
Yes.
Yes. I thought that's how I thought.
Okay.
Yeah.
So again, and I want to kind of go back to how my wife pitched this movie. Her pitch was, oh, and the dead husband helps her get over her and find someone new.
Right.
So the whole time I'm watching this,
you're set up that, oh, Daniel's gonna win.
It's Daniel, and I do not like Daniel. I do not like him from the beginning to like hit on her at her husband's wake, right? And to be like, you're hot, like, dude, the guy just died. Like, she's still wearing like the funeral clothing, like, back off. You know, and then like we learn like his quirkiness and whatnot, and the whole time I was just like, no.
Okay, so
then I think that also added to my viewing experience. Like, she cannot end up with him, right?
Oh man!
But I mean, you also thought they would end up together, right?
Yeah, but it was a lot, like. But part of it's because, like, you kind of expect, like, in a movie like this,
yeah,
there's this level of like expectation that, like, oh, the male character that comes in and is throughout, they have interactions together.
Yeah. And he's there, and he's consistent and persistent. But because of that, I love that they didn't end up together.
We don't know who Daniel really is in a relationship, but my feeling is that he's been bartending at her mom's bar for some time, but not long enough for him to really know Holly.
Right, because I think they mentioned that he's fairly new.
Right, he's fairly new. But it could have easily been like he knew of Holly or whatever, and then like this is the only time he's actually like. Anyways, I feel like for Daniel's character, they wrote him awkward, and it's I think there's like a level of like he was meant to be awkward, which is totally fine. But then there's also this other level where like it was like he was supposed to be some weird filler at times.
Yes, and I think that's where I would have been like, I would prefer you give us more of the dynamic between mom and sister, right?
Yes.
Than Daniel. And it's almost, I would love to see how the book is laid out if Daniel is this character that's being planted to kind of to be the same thing, right? To make us think that that's who she's going to be with. But I was just annoyed more than anything by Daniel because I just did not like him. Like, he just kind of annoyed me. Like, I know he is supposed to be like awkward, quirky, but like,
you know what? I think this time I didn't actually have a problem with him the first couple of times when
I would love to hear from like a female listener.
Yeah, I would.
Like,
yeah, for sure.
If you were in that position that Holly is in, and you have a Daniel in your life, how do you react to that? Because as a guy, I'm just like, I want to punch this guy in the face. And I love Harry Connick Jr.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I love the guy, but I just
felt they had like, it's like, hey, we want you to portray emo. We want you to be like, let's give me a little bit of a weird emo, like sad boy vibe. Because every single time they shoot him, he's like, his head's tilted down, his hair is down in his face. He's kind of like, not sure how best to interact with her, but he's like pretty blunt with her, which again I think is actually kind of a quirky, like likable character thing. It's just the way that we keep continue. Again, it's just it felt very one noted. Like we have him, and then we have depression, and then we have a little bit of him, and then we have Jerry, and then we have it's just like it doesn't. It's we don't have a up and a down for a good chunk of the movie. And again, not. These are just things that we, as us trying to be critical and thinking like, hey, is this? I remember truly like loving. I thought there was going to be more love, and there is a lot to love. It's just not once you start looking at some of the things, especially when we come from the proposal, where we had the downs and up,
Yep.
and like the awkwardness and like quirky little things that like allow us to have resets at different moments.
Yeah.
That's where I think this month long journey of what doing some romance and some, you know, a lot of rom-coms just really allowed me to realize that like we need, especially in rom-coms, we really need to feel the downs and the ups.
Yes.
Otherwise, when you go and you start to watch these films, although you can be triggered emotionally or whatever due to the subject matter, they don't age well. To a degree.
Yes. And I think, but I think what better way to portray love than how it really is. I mean, love in real life, right, has its ups and downs, right?
Yes.
And that's how you build relationships with your partner, is through the ups and downs.
Yeah.
And if you're able to portray that on screen, then we see your characters falling in love,
Right.
having love,
Right.
but we as viewers also end up loving them and cheering for them, right? And going back to the proposal, we see that, right? A perfect amount of family dynamics, right? The struggle that Ryan Reynolds' character has with his parents, specifically with his dad, and here to lean more into the weird dynamic that Holly would have with her mom. I think we were robbed of that.
We were,
and it would have only been of more help to this script had we seen more of that.
Yes. I think before this viewing, I was like, I put it as like, oh, this is really enjoyable. This is a movie that like I you know, would tell people like, hey, you should go watch P.S. I Love You. Watching this time around, I don't know, not that I wouldn't recommend it. I just am like, I feel like you're almost watching like a super long episode, a super long pilot episode.
Okay.
And or even like you're watching a movie, and the movie just has a super long intro, and then all of a sudden because like Barbara and Holly, when they go back to go visit Jerry's family, and like we have had a moment with Barbara and Holly, and they've connected over the fact that like he always made me laugh.
Yeah.
Right. Though, like too long, a little too late. Before we got these wonderful, beautiful moments.
And I don't want to say like listeners, I don't want to discourage anyone from watching this. I think you should watch this.
Yeah, it's
a good movie. I enjoyed it from like the topic, the subject matter.
Yeah.
Okay. I think, and maybe this is why I'm not going to revisit it. Like I still haven't revisited Black Panther: Wakanda Forever because it's heavy.
It's heavy.
And again, themes of grief, of loss, right? Of legacy and impact that our loved ones leave behind, right? It's heavy. And like I love that movie, but I still haven't revisited it.
Yeah.
Because I can't get myself there to watch it again.
No.
And the same thing with P.S. I Love You. It's the subject matter, it's beautiful, and for you to lose someone in this manner, and for them to like leave behind these notes, and like how beautiful is that? But
it is romantic. I think for me, like watching the when I watched it initially, like I cried hard. I cried the second time. And every single time I watched it, I was like, man, that's awesome to love somebody so much that you're gonna do what you can to give them a last little bit of, not like Barbara comes in and says like, I think it's wrong what he's doing.
Yeah.
But if you know you're gonna die, wouldn't you want to provide one last adventure in some fashion, whether that's before they die or it's in some fashion after they die?
Yeah.
I think that is romantic. That is a grand gesture that I think is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
It's unique, kind of a weird, in our rom-com or like romantic. It is a unexpected situation that like most people aren't going to do. They're going to try to do it before they die.
Yeah. And
they live their life and then they're done. I love the fact that it's just like, we don't know what they went through during this and then also we get Jerry, the Jerry that we see in the fight to some degree, right?
Yeah.
So I think really what it comes down to is that like we've said this before. We're saying it again over and over again. We want us to feel, and we just didn't like we felt, but it was too much of the same note. If they just given us a little extra emphasis, because let's actually talk about some of the good stuff about this.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I love Lisa. Or it is Lisa, but what's her?
Lisa Kudrow's character.
Yeah, Denise and Big Mama are phenomenal. I love when they come in. I actually really love the sister, and I'm sad. Like, I forgot that she wasn't in more of the film when she comes back, and they have like a little like line that, well, I came back because they're drama or whatever. Like, yeah, I'm like, oh man, these are things that I'm like, I look at now and I'm like, man, they set that up and there's no payoff.
Yeah.
You know, like, and she's like she feels like a dynamic character that would really add the like extra flavor for us to then, you know, again, to be shaken up. Mm-hmm. But some of my favorite moments, dude, I love the boat.
The boat scene?
The boat scene.
Where they get stuck.
Denise is over there doing her nails and like sets the nail polish, and they're fishing. She's like, oh, he always wanted to take me on, Holly's over there, living what freaking Jerry wish he could have been there. And they're trying to reel in the fish, and the Lisa like gets bumped and knocks off her thing. She like is like, no, bloody murder. I just think it's like, I laugh so hard every single time I watch that scene because it's just so funny. Because like, I know, so my wife has a huge box of freaking nails, and I could see, or even my daughter, I could even picture my daughter like freaking out because like I was like, why would you bring nail polish to this freaking thing? But they do, and it's and then like they have the fact that and I think on top of that, like, we get this like fun like comedic relief, but then we have like a real moment of like reality check right after, with the fact that like one of them's is pregnant, and the other one's engaged.
And the other one's engaged. That life is moving on, and she is
letting it pass her by.
Yeah, she's allowing grief to like hold her back.
Yeah,
right. But we don't sit enough with that, right?
No, we don't.
And we like the friends disappear for like the next like 20 minutes.
Yes, or they try to hook her up. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah, and so we don't revisit that as much as well enough, and we touch back on it until Denise is getting fitted for her wedding dress, right?
And on top of that, the payoff, like, they have these moments that they set up. They're like pretty good, like they're good.
Yeah,
and I just don't think they spend enough time again in that end of the first act, beginning of the second act, that we just don't get. We don't get enough of them in the play. What's one thing for you?
I really enjoyed the whole, we talked about it, the karaoke scene, right? It really like shows this relationship that they have, and it also shows, like, for me again, Holly's side of like having fun.
Yeah, like
she gets up there, she starts singing, unfortunately it ends in disaster, right? But like, she got up there, and like I believe this relationship more, right?
Yeah.
And again, because I wanted more, I would have loved to have more flashbacks of them doing things together and having that engagement, right? To make me really believe, like, oh, okay, not that I don't believe that they weren't happy or anything, but just to make me fall in love with them as a couple. I had a great time with like the flashback where they meet for the first time.
It is so good.
It is good, and it's like, yeah, I see why you fall for Gerard Butler. Like, he is, even in his like strong Irish accent, like, yeah, he's charming. He's charming.
I also like that, like, Hilary Swank also is super charming.
Yeah,
their chemistry together in like, I think this is where I think again, like, we talk about the issues with these movies. It's because we connect so deeply with the fact on the good sides of this.
Yes.
We want it to complete each other, and this is why because I think in this scene, I mean, we could have even started with the whole scene of them meeting and having the kiss, and her walking away and then cutting to her walking forward and him following her.
Oh, okay.
That could have been another.
That's a good cut. I like that.
See, look, to me, I'm like,
That's good. I like
if
that.
we're not going to do any reshooting, right, and I'm going to cut this, I would have opened up with this moment that he finds Holly on the road, like confused with this girl just staring out into the Great Ireland plains, and have this moment and her leaving. No, if it's meant to be, then
we'll see each other again.
See each other again,
right?
Then smash cuts to her storming, like in New York, her storming off, and whoa, what's going on? So we know that something beautiful happened, that they were together, but they're struggling, right? And then at least that to me is something better, because like there's some beautiful one-liners in this.
Oh yeah, there is, and not just the one-liners, but the chemistry. And this is where I was like, is this Hilary's only like romance movie? I think so, right?
So.
And this is where I'm like, yeah, Hilary Swank's got it. Like, she's
got it.
Like, I've always been a big fan of her.
I know.
But then I'm watching this and I'm like, no, she can also, like, she's great at these drama roles, incredible at these drama roles. But like, seeing her like have this like romantic engagement with Gerard Butler, I'm like, no, like this is cute, and I really enjoy this dynamic, and I want more of it.
Yeah,
and I get it. Again, the movie's not meant to be that. It's the aftermath of someone who has passed, but I want to have that rounded out. I want to have that balance of the highs and the lows, and that scene, that flashback of them meeting for the first time is just incredible.
It is. I also really enjoyed and appreciated their moments of Jerry's presence. I felt like that felt very real, of like someone who lost somebody that they love so much that at moments felt their presence and their care for them.
Yeah.
I think this is why Daniel's character then feels not as cohesive.
Yep.
Because they don't, like, the first couple times I'm like, I get it, like it's not the best situation. I mean, he hits her out of the bar, then she pulls him into like the weird closet. She throws up on his shoes, and they have the same. But then again, it's like the same note. It doesn't change.
Yeah.
And it isn't until they have their kiss that and I love that scene. Like I do.
Yeah.
I do appreciate that. You know, like I think it's weird that it's awkward to me to have him read this letter from Jerry, knowing that to some degree he keeps trying to come after her, and she continues to let him, even though he's hurt her or she has hurt him, calling him Jerry and talking about Jerry all the time, and him just like not trying to move it forward, right? But it is, but it's a freaking great scene. I love that. They're like, nope, that was like kissing my sister. So
it was such a relief for me when they did not end up together.
So then,
I was
did you like who she does? Who she? I mean, not necessarily. I mean, we don't know if she ends up with him, but
I hope she doesn't. In my head canon, I hope she does not end up with Jeffrey Dean Morgan. A couple of reasons. One, you're going back to a dark-haired Irish man.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, Jerry 2.0.
Yeah, Jerry 2.0. Like,
not even 2.0. It's a
have you moved on? Like,
yeah.
One. Second, this is your buddy's like former bandmate. Like,
not even. It's like his.
They grew up together, right? Like,
yes, so, like the best friend.
Yeah. So then I'm just kind of like, I don't know about that.
Yeah.
And then the third thing. Your mom has the hots now for
his dad.
I
know that's
if that goes on anywhere, like you guys are gonna be siblings. Like that's just kind of. So for those reasons, I'm in my head canon.
Never happens.
No, it never happens. Kathy Bates and the dad, sure, 100%,
100%.
Yeah, but not Hilary and Jeffrey Dean Morgan.
Yeah. So good. You know what, Marshall? I hope you watch this again. I know that it might be hard. And I know that like I don't disagree with some of the like things, but I think I was talking this out. Like I'm for sure this is a movie that like if I'm during love season or I want to watch something that might be like less dramatic or whatever, this is for sure a movie that I'll consider for sure, and I'll probably end up watching again at different times.
I think I will revisit this but it'll be a while.
Yeah.
And this is how I feel about, and I could be completely wrong, but like I never watched This Is Us.
Oh my gosh, bro! This Is Us is hard.
Okay, I saw the pilot episode when it was like season 3.
Yeah.
So like I'd heard all the hype, I'd heard everything. I saw the first episode. I'm like, I get it, but this is not for me. Like I'm not sitting down for 4 or 5 seasons, however long it was, of this.
So I loved watching This Is Us, but it got to a point where like it kind of slowed down a little bit in the writing. And it was week by week, and so Sadie and I got off track watching it together. But there was multiple times that I was like emotionally, because like of the emotional impacts of like the family dynamics and the father and the son relationships and like what that means and like how I resonate with that. And I'm like, oh, it was like, and I'm an emotional person, so like I'll feel it and I just like start crying and I'm like, I could do better. I can do better. So I feel you, but
I think I'll revisit it. It probably won't be. And this is what I was wondering, like how rewatchable is this movie for people? But you've seen it at least 5 times.
Yeah, so I think it is rewatchable. I think me now, it's probably a little less rewatchable just because we do this podcast.
Yeah,
and I've like now I'm not only because I would always take these notes, but I wouldn't vocalize it. And so like I wouldn't like process through some of them. But now I think it's just slightly there. But I think what I do is I just take a couple check notes and understand that like I understand what it is.
Yeah.
But it could have been, honestly, I think it could have been one of the great romance movies.
Really?
There's a lot of elements there that are really amazing. And yes, I don't know what the book is, right?
Yeah.
But if I take this as a film and I look at what elements are available, there is, and the casting the cast that is there that they had, right? If I, in the aspect, some really additional magical moments that could have really carried us through a journey.
Yeah.
Were there.
Okay.
That's what I have to say. So
I will revisit this. It'll take me some time. Maybe
we'll visit in season 4.
Maybe I need to watch Wakanda Forever first.
Yeah. In any case, we hope you enjoyed today's episode and would love it if you could subscribe wherever you get your podcast. And if you did really enjoy it, either leave us a review or, more importantly, share it with one friend, because this is a community of people who love talking about movies, and we want to know your thoughts.
More importantly, we want to hear from you. What did you think of P.S. I Love You? Have you seen it? Is this your first time? Am I wrong? Let me know. Let us know. You can always get in contact with us via socials at Real Chumps. I'm also on Twitter at Marstrosity, MARZTROSITY.
You can find me at Rubio_TV. Join us next week join us later this week as we are going to be watching the first bunch of heist movies, starting off with The Italian Job with Mark Wahlberg.
The Mark Wahlberg one. Yeah. This will be fun.
It's going to be great. See you next one.
Later.